Hello everyone, and welcome to another beer review. Now, we're kind of back into doing the reviews. What we'll be continuing in 2023 initially, in the kind of January, rest of January and February, we'll still be doing some of the kind of Scottish series, and hopefully we'll get a couple of good beers out of that. We might even get a good one from Belhaven, although I doubt it. Although, now here's the best laugh is, I actually did a review of their Scottish oat stout, and it actually wasn't too bad. I actually gave it, was it a 6 out of 10? Now the problem is, I was going to put the video up last Sunday basically. What date's today? Today is the 10th, so it was going to be the Sunday before the 10th I was actually going to put it up. Unfortunately, when I went to edit it, I got 3/4 of the way through the video, and obviously my mic basically packed in. It must have run out of charge or whatever, and I lost audio basically. So from the last quarter of the video there was no audio, and I thought, well, I can't put that out. It's so that's a kind of waste of time. So it was me gabbing, and then when I got down to the nitty gritty, when I eventually get down to the nitty gritty of giving it a score, and this is what I think of it, there was no sound. Which probably to some people was probably a benefit, and they said, well, you should probably put it up because it would probably been an improvement in your previous videos. But I thought, no, there's no point in me putting a video up unless it's annoying somebody. So that was a disaster basically. So if I get another bottle, I will do another review of it. But if I don't, it actually wasn't a bad beer for a stout. It was quite sweet. It was more of a kind of a milk stout, even though they call it a Scottish oat stout, but it had the same type of sweetness and the kind of feel, and it was using lactose, so it had that slightly creamy feel to it as well. So it was definitely a milk stout, even regardless of what they put on the label. But yeah, it wasn't too bad. There was some nice flavour profiles to it, and yeah, I would probably say it was slightly above average. So yeah, it wasn't too bad, and I gave it a 6 out of 10. So there you go. So that was kind of almost a kind of a good beer from Belhaven so far, but hopefully we can get something maybe better, or maybe we won't. But what we're doing today is we're at the Badger Brewery again, and we're doing the Cranborne Poacher, which is a ruby ale. Ooh. And I thought it'd be more kind of suitable for the winter. So it's more winter. Apparently it's a rich and fruity ruby ale, and it's 5.7%. And there's always spiel on the back, because you always get the spiel with the Badger's Brewery. Endorse it. So they say there's no such thing as a free meal. Well, there isn't. There we go, that's that covered. Okay. But as you wind your way through wooded hills towards the tiny village of Cranborne, I've been there actually, you might chance upon a charming rogue who says differently. For years, the Cranborne Poacher has roamed these parts, outwitting both authority and prey in pursuit of pilfered plums and a pheasant for his pot. So there you go. So apparently they're naming it after a poacher who's nicking the plums and stealing the pheasants. There you go. Anyway, I don't know what that's going to do with the beer, but anyway. I think I've noticed a trend with quite a lot of English ales where it's like, they'll tell you this wee kind of anecdote or little kind of story that doesn't really mean anything. It's not even that bloody interesting. And then they justify that's why they've named the beer after it, because it's such a wonderful story, and you're thinking, well, it isn't. It's a load of shit. So yeah, you get poachers. There's poachers going about. I used to do a bit of poaching when I was younger. So I did. And in fact, I've done poaching with my dad, even though we didn't realise we were doing it, because the person that was supposed to do the fishing permits and that type of stuff claimed he did. And then when we found out, and the gillies were coming over and that type of stuff to check, that's when he finally admitted we don't have any permits. So, and what? There you go. What, we're going to name a beer after it now, you know what I mean? I didn't know that I was a poacher, you know. Got a load of bollocks, you know. So it's like, if you're going to name something make it justifiable, not just because you've got a stupid little uninteresting story or anecdote, because it's just bollocks. You know, it's just like, well, better to say nothing at all. Right, we've called it this because I thought it was a good name. That's fine. Not some bullshit story that just makes it even sound even more lame than it really is. So anyway, a bold, fruity, ruby ale, crystal and chocolate malts provide a full-bodied taste with sweet, complex flavours of damson and licorice. Oh right, so we got a bit of licorice too. That's not so bad. Damson. The problem is usually get damson flavours is usually quite sweet. Oh dear God, it's not too sweet. Right. So let's crack it open. Now again, this is roughly about £2 a bottle. Like I said, it's 5.7%. They can do a 500ml bottle, so there you go. Unfortunately, a lot of these craft breweries can't, but hey, they can. You know, so there you go. They've realised, oh, you're getting some smells off of this. And it's fruit you're getting. Well, it's a bit lively as well, actually. Oh. The Cranborne Poacher. Yeah, you're getting fruits. Can't tell you what kind of fruits. It's more like a kind of a fruit cake, kind of fruity smells. So it's taking forever to bloody pour this bloody thing. It's a bit lively, this. It's been in the fridge for a while too. I've not been shaking the bottle. Stop doing that now, boys. Oh, he's shaking his bottle. Anyway, yeah, my mum used to tell me about that. Stop it, Graham. You go blind. You can see him wearing glasses. Bifocals. Yeah, I didn't listen to her. Look at this. You got a flake in that, mister? Aye, alright, go on, here's a flake. 99 in that, huh? Right, there we go. 99 flake. Oh, I tell you, man. See, if I was a barman, you'd tell me to piss off, so you would. Oof. Be standing there thinking, what the fuck is that you've given? Look at the state of this. I just want to get the bloody thing poured. Look at it. What a load of dribbly pish. Look at the state I am. This is an embarrassment, by the way. Which I should be used to, because most things I do usually turn out to be a bloody embarrassment. Look at that, I've got it stuck to the bottle now, and there we go. So there's my kind of interpretation of a 99 ice cream cone with a flake in it. And yeah, as you can see, it's quite ruby. Smell wise, well, if I can get anything through this bloody head. Yeah, like I said, you're getting kind of dried fruit, kind of fruit cake kind of smells. There's another smell that's kind of fruity, but it's hard to kind of break, you know, kind of identify what it is. But it's quite a sharp kind of fruity smell. To the point is it almost doesn't feel natural. But yeah, so you're getting fruit smells. You're not really getting any malt. You're getting no hops. You know, as in hoppy smells, general kind of hoppy smells. There's no floralness and that type of stuff. But yeah, the fruitiness, no, it's the aromas there, but they're quite indistinct to kind of try and break down to kind of individual aromas. So there's a smell there, but it's kind of a mixed match, and it's hard to kind of break it down to individual aromas. So I'm not really being much help with that, to be totally honest. But yeah, as you can see, it's kind of calmed down a bit better now. It's looking almost like a normal pint. So let's see what it tastes like. Right. It's a bit sweeter than I thought it was going to be. It's not overly sweet, but there is, for my kind of taste, maybe slightly more sweetness than it really needs. And it does kind of give it that kind of with the kind of fruity flavours and this kind of underlying sweetness. It does. I mean, the flavours are nice and pleasant, but going on the basis, I think they would probably be sickening quite quickly. So they would be. It's actually not a bad beer, actually. Just trying to get the mouth acclimatised to it because there's quite a lot of flavours in there. And I'm just trying to kind of identify within the kind of aftertaste and everything else, just to see where everyone's sitting, because there's a flavour there that's kind of all over the place. It's kind of bouncing about from the kind of mid-tongue and the aftertaste, and now it's starting to kind of appear a little bit in the actual front of the mouth, and I'm trying to... I don't know, it could be damson, but it's also very kind of like, almost like kind of glassy cherry as well. Okay. Yeah. I think it is more kind of damson, but it is kind of slightly glassy cherry like as well. So let's break it down. Starts off with, there's a slightly kind of light cherry flavour at the start, stroke kind of damson, and there's a sweetness there at the front of the mouth. Not overly sweet, but sweet enough, and with a kind of fruity kind of start to it. It does kind of give you a slight strange effect because you're not getting any grains, you're not getting any kind of real malts or that type of stuff. So the initial start of the mouth isn't kind of natural beer flavours. You're getting a sweetness and you're getting a fruitiness that doesn't really kind of represent beer so much. So you're coming into that, you're thinking, okay, right. I mean, they're nice flavours, but they're not the first flavours you would think of with beer, and especially when there's not any other kind of flavour tones there to kind of associate it with beer. So they kind of stand out thinking, what the hell is this? Then you move on to the kind of mid-tongue. Now, on the mid-tongue, that's where you start getting a little bit of the grain coming through. You've still got the fruitiness, you've still got the sweetness, but you're starting to get a little bit of grain coming through. And as part of that, you're getting little hints of kind of caramel. So you're getting a little bit of malt coming through. So you're starting to get a little kind of caramel tones. Now, these caramel tones are just adding the kind of accents of caramel. They're not adding anything to the sweetness. The sweetness is already there. But you still have this kind of fruity kind of damson kind of like, or glassy cherry kind of flavour kind of bouncing around in there as well. So it's starting to feel a bit more beer-like in the mid-tongue, but again, you still have these kind of slightly kind of strange flavours. I mean, they do tend to go, they're not actually kind of fighting each other, they do tend to go, but it's just the predominant flavour is this kind of fruitiness, and it's just a bit of an unusual flavour. I'm not saying it doesn't taste natural, but it's one of these kind of unusual flavours that it might be natural, but it doesn't taste particularly natural just because of the environment it's in. And then you move on to the kind of aftertaste. And again, you've still got the fruitiness. There's a little bit of bitterness there, but you've still got the fruitiness, you've still got the sweetness. The sweetness goes all the way through. That's the last flavour that you're left with. You're left with the kind of sweetness, and you've still little accents of the kind of fruitiness. But as the bitterness comes in, you get little hints of licorice. Just little hints of licorice as well, so that's helping to kind of go with the bitterness. It's not adding to a sweetness, it's adding more of a kind of bitterness to it, which is quite nice. So it kind of balances out the sweetness a bit and gives it a nicer finish. I would say the finish is nicer than the start, just because the start just feels unbeer-like initially. But I would also say in general, it's probably, like I said at the start, the sweetness doesn't kind of drop until basically it starts to kind of tail off at the end of the aftertaste, but it's quite constant. So it's usually expect sweetness to kind of drop down a bit after the front of the mouth and to obviously dissipate quicker in the aftertaste, whereas this is very constant and it's probably a little bit more sweet than it really needs to be. It's maybe a bit too sweet for my liking. It might be fine for other people. For my liking, I would expect the kind of sweetness to kind of tail off and not be so prominent in the mid-tongue, but it's prominent all the way through to the aftertaste. And I would say that's one of the big problems with it. So yeah, what would I give this out of 10? Well, it's nice, but it's not nice in some ways. It just feels a bit, I mean, you can see it's nicely brewed and everything else, but it just, flavour profiles are a bit strange, and like I said, the sweetness is probably a bit too much for me. Price wise is fine and everything else, but yeah, I give this out of 10. I'm going to give this a 5 out of 10. It's not really my cup of tea. I mean, other people might like it, and I would recommend give it a go because there is kind of plenty of interesting flavours in it. They may not be to my taste, especially the sweetness, a bit too much, but in general, it's okay. I can see what they're trying to do, but there's other ruby ales that I would prefer and I enjoy a lot more. And yeah, it's just a bit, it's that type of thing. Is I can see what you're trying to do. You're trying to kind of add more flavour to it, maybe bring some unique flavours to it and things like that, but for me it's just a little bit away from the kind of traditional for me to really kind of enjoy it. So yeah, it's a 5 out of 10. It's a 500ml bottle, it's 5.7%. And yeah, I would say, yeah, give it a go. If you've tried it, then let us know what you think of it in the comments. If you haven't, then yeah, give it a go and see what you think. You mean, you might like it, you might like that kind of additional sweetness, but for me, just with that kind of fruity flavour and that kind of constant sweetness, just a bit too much for me. And I think, yeah, I mean, even right now I'm getting a bit sick of it from that point of view, and I'm only halfway down it, and that's one bottle. So I don't think I could probably drink any more than one bottle, and well, that would be me finished probably. So, thanks for watching, cheers, and bye for now.